black, and then has the same glaze with tin, which makes it white, and with a gray stain. And these were different color combinations. So this line was sold through Urban Archaeology, made in my studio and sold there. So this is all my second version, version of a website. It was in this period also that I did the Tacoma's Park sidewalk. And here I combined many of the ideas that I was working on lately, the use of cookie cutters, oval shapes, rounded shapes, and the glazes that I already had in my repertoire, and overlapping the glazes. So let me see. So these are the cookie cutters that I was using, and these are just store-bought cookie cutters that were round. It was a set of round cookie cutters, and I deformed each one to create the different shapes. This is very soft metal, and you can modify them any way you want. And this is the same picture I just showed you, but here I wanted to mention that when you walk on the sidewalk actually is 700 feet long by 6 inches wide. And when you walk, you will notice that there is a section that all the tiles are blue and gray and black. Then it switches to combination of orange, blue, and gray and black. And then a section that is mostly black and gray with just oranges and reds. The way I got this, I won this competition is, again, the same two students that suggested me to go to the Moravian tile pottery. They told me about this competition in Tacoma Park, and I presented my work. They were also competing for this work, and so I was awarded the commission. The way I made them is like I said, with cookie cutters. And then in my studio, I have trays of different colors, a tray for red shapes, a tray for blue shapes, a tray for a combination of blues, a tray for grays. And I made myself a frame that was 6 inches by 30 inches long, 2 feet by 6. And into that frame, I would arrange the tiles the way I wanted the design to look like. Once I had that already in that picture frame, I would put a tape on top. It's a very thick tape that is used by mosaic makers. When they make mosaics, they make a design, they put the tape on top, and that holds the design together. So that's what I did here. The roll of the tape was exactly 6 inches wide. So I bought several rolls and I put them on each section that I was making. And that's how they were transported to the site and lay down on the ground. So they were glued to the ground first, and then the tape is removed, and then grout is put on top. So this is a view of the sidewalk. And you can see how it's changing from orange and blues to blues. And here we have more of the same. This is the most contemporary picture that I have of the sidewalk, and I wish it was in better conditions, but the tiles are holding up very well. So as I told you before, I love modern design, and I was subscribed to a magazine called Dwell. And it's so exactly this picture that you are looking at is the one that I saw in the magazine. Eva Cecil was an industrial designer, and she made this room divider that you see on the back. And I loved this room divider, and I wanted to do something that was three-dimensional also. Before I continue, Jan, do we have any questions?
Just one comment that someone who has long admired the sidewalk is delighted to meet the artist.
Thank you. Thanks. So Emma Seisel was the one that inspired me to make three-dimensional tiles. So this is my next phase in my tile history. I started here making tiles that were three-dimensional. So this was my business card, and this was actually the first wall that I did with the three-dimensional tiles. I see that it's now already 7:53. Are we okay with time?
You're fine, keep going.
Okay, so to make these tiles, I made the shapes. First, I sculpted the shapes out of plaster. I made the positive and the negative. And from that, I made rubber molds. And I was casting concrete into the rubber molds. Now, this was not very precise. It was a pain to make. I had a large commission in Miami and I had to make an entire wall of this. And I said, never again. The fitting was not perfect. The concrete would have a lot of differences in the surface. It was not even. So it was really disappointing, but I didn't want to give up on these designs. So I realized that I had to collaborate with somebody that would manufacture them for me. So to solve the fitting problem, I got in touch with a company in Buenos Aires called 3D Bay, and they did the rapid prototyping, the original, with a computer. They did the drawings that a computer can read, and the rapid prototyping, which is the actual original tile made by a computer. So this is the company in Buenos Aires. Sorry. And this is an example of the drawings that they sent me. This is another design that I sent them. This was called Boca. So these are the three tiles, and this is how the wall looks like. And then I found another company in Buenos Aires that was actually making the manufacturing of the tiles. This company makes all kinds of fittings for bathrooms, and they make sinks, and they make tiles also, and they use a solid surface that is a mixture of an epoxy with a marble of powder marble. So kitchen tops use this a lot. So I contacted them and I found them because they were also showing their work in coverings in Chicago. And I had a catalog from all the people that did participate in the show in Chicago. I was looking for somebody that could do something for me that was fitting with what I wanted to do. And to my surprise, this company was located in Buenos Aires. So I was so lucky, so excited. So I called them immediately and they said, yes, we can do this for you. So this is the design that Misiones did. I sent them the originals that were done in rapid prototyping. The way I work with the rapid prototyping company is I send them the original tiles made in plaster. So I didn't have to make any drawings. I just shipped the plaster shapes. And from that, they did the drawings. And from that, they did the rapid prototyping. So this is another view of the tile. And this is a different tile that I did later. This was called the Penta because it is this shape. This is the tile that you see repeating in this wall. And the tiles have, working with this material allowed me to have solid surfaces that had color. So here you see it in gray. I had them also in black, white, and orange. So this is the orange design. You see it's extremely 60s. And you can see also how important it is that the fitting of the pieces have to fit precisely together because there is no grout that will hide any imperfections. So they had to be precise. And all this, again, was solved through urban archaeology. Another picture of the same design. And this is another penta design. So it's a pentagon tile repeating. And then urban archaeology is the one in charge of publicizing the tiles. So this was in Interior Design magazine, and Interior Design magazine needs new stuff to showcase. The company Urban Archaeology needs to also showcase the work. So it was really nice to open a magazine and to see my work showcased in there. And this is another magazine from Argentina. So since I was manufacturing the tiles in Buenos Aires, I also looked for architects in Buenos Aires that could use these tiles. And in one of my trips, I just looked for architects that were involved in making commercial work, restaurants, shops. And so this is one of the architects, and she did this bathroom. This was actually a competition, and she won first prize for this installation. And this is another installation in a boutique store. So this is how the wall looks like. This is through urban archaeology. This is in California. This is a Ruth Chris restaurant. And this is a residence in Buenos Aires made with a pentatile. The picture is not great, but I think it must have been really beautiful to walk through this hallway with these tiles. And this is also a bathroom in Buenos Aires, in an apartment in Buenos Aires, and with the same tiles. And then came the PIPS project. So as I told you, my work was in urban archaeology that had locations in New York and also in Chicago. And two architects from Gensler were doing the PIPS store here in National Harbor. And they saw my work and they called me, asked me if I was willing to make custom work. And I said yes. So this is the store in National Harbor, and you can see the cashier wrap on the right that has repeating tiles with the shape of the pips. So what the company did is they sent me just this drawing of a pip, and they wanted me to make a repeating tile, tessellating tile with this image. So this was my outline. And as you can see, the top part of the head of the pip repeats on the bottom. And so this drawing I sent to Ezequiel, the 3D prototyping guy in Buenos Aires. So he did a drawing of the fitting. So it was just a slab, and the precision of the fitting was extremely important. And so he did they manufactured in Buenos Aires just the slab for the PIP, and they sent me the slab, and I finished the volume of the PIP with plaster, and I sent that back to Buenos Aires to the Misiones company, the one that was making the tiles, and they made the first pips and they sent me this image for approval. So this is how the wall looks like. And these are some details, pictures from the store. So they use that for wrapping the cashier table, and also a wall on the background. And the lights that you see purple change to magenta, to blue, and to green. And this is today. So this is me working in my studio with Mila, my daughter. And you can see when I started with the tiles, I started by making them myself. And over the years, the progression was removing me from the making process. And at the beginning, it was very involved. I was making the glazes, discovering new surfaces. And then at the end, it was just pure business. It was very commercial. It was just designing and being on the phone. And so I didn't